My name is Rose. I remember the day I met David. He was kind, funny, and different from everyone I had ever known. We fell in love quickly. Excuse me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Our families didn't agree with our relationship. They said we were too different. But we didn't care. We fought for our love. We cried, we waited, and we stayed strong. After many years of problems and waiting, we finally got married. At first, everything felt like a dream. We were so happy. We smiled all the time. We cooked together, watched movies, and laughed at small things. I believed we would stay happy forever. But things started to change. Slowly. One day, I told him he forgot to buy milk. He got angry. I was surprised. It was just milk. The next week, he said I was always complaining. I didn't understand. I thought I was just talking. Then I started getting angry too. I felt like he didn't care. He didn't listen to me anymore. I wanted to feel loved, but instead, I felt alone. We started fighting more. Sometimes about money. Sometimes about food. Sometimes for no reason. I would say something small, and suddenly we were shouting. I cried many nights. I looked at him and wondered, what happened to the man I loved so deeply? David changed too. He stopped asking about my day. He stayed quiet. Or he stayed on his phone. When I asked him what was wrong, he said, nothing. But I knew that was not true. We both were tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of silence. Tired of being unhappy. But we still loved each other. I knew it. Even in the middle of a fight, when he walked out of the room, I still hoped he would come back and hold my hand. I wanted to go back to the time when we were strong, when we were one team. One night, I sat alone in the kitchen. The house was quiet. I looked at our wedding picture on the wall. I had tears in my eyes. I whispered, "Why are we like this now?" I knew we had to change. Both of us. Or we would lose everything we fought for. I didn't want to give up on David. I didn't want to walk away from the man I loved more than anything. But I also didn't want to keep living in pain. So the next morning, I sat beside him. My voice was soft. My heart was heavy. And I said, I don't want to fight anymore. I want us to be okay again. Can we try? He looked at me. His eyes were tired. But for the first time in a long time, he held my hand. And in that moment, I felt a small piece of hope return to my heart. Maybe we could fix this. Maybe we still had time. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to the quiet rhythm of David's breathing next to me. It used to be comforting. Now it felt like a wall. I turned to face him, but he was lying on his side, his back toward me. The space between us on the bed felt larger than ever. I wanted to reach out, place my hand on his shoulder, feel some sort of connection, but I didn't. Something held me back. Maybe it was fear. Or maybe it was the realization that even touch couldn't fix what was broken. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the shower. David always showered quickly, like he didn't want to waste time. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind felt heavy, but not with thoughts, just a deep sadness, the kind that doesn't come from a single moment, but from 100 little ones stacked on top of each other. After he left for work, I sat by the window with my coffee. The street was busy as always. People walking fast, cars rushing by, kids on bikes. Life was happening outside, but inside, our home was frozen. I hadn't told anyone about the way things had changed. Not my sister, not my best friend. I didn't know how to explain it. Nothing dramatic had happened. No yelling, no betrayal. Just a slow fading of love, like a candle burning out without anyone noticing. For days, I tried to pretend everything was okay. I cooked dinner, cleaned the house, smiled when he walked through the door. But he rarely noticed. He spent more time on his phone than talking to me. When we did speak, it was about practical things, groceries, bills, appointments. The warmth in his voice was gone. I missed that more than anything. One evening, as I was folding laundry, I found a shirt of his that still smelled like his cologne. That familiar scent hit me like a wave. I held it to my face and closed my eyes. I remembered a time when that smell made me feel safe. Now it only reminded me of what I had lost. I kept thinking back to the early days, how he used to look at me, like I was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. He used to surprise me with flowers, hold my hand in public, write little notes and leave them for me to find. It wasn't grand gestures that made me fall in love. It was the little things, the quiet ways he made me feel seen. But those things had disappeared slowly, like dust collecting in corners. There were moments when I tried to bring back the closeness. I would ask him how his day was. Sometimes, he would answer with one word. Sometimes, not at all. I once made his favorite dinner and lit candles on the table. He came home late and said he wasn't hungry. I didn't say anything. I just cleaned up after he went to bed. I started to wonder if it was me. Maybe I wasn't enough anymore. Maybe I had changed too. Maybe I had become boring, predictable. I looked in the mirror and tried to find that version of myself he used to adore. But all I saw was a woman who was tired of trying to hold something together that didn't want to stay. I wanted to talk to him, to ask if he still loved me. But every time I opened my mouth, the words dissolved before they reached my lips. I was scared. Scared that he would confirm what I already felt. That he had stopped loving me. That I had become a stranger to him. That the space between us wasn't temporary, it was permanent. One Sunday afternoon, he was sitting on the couch watching something on TV. I sat across from him, holding a book I couldn't focus on. I kept stealing glances at him, trying to read his face, trying to find any sign that he still cared. But he didn't even look at me. It felt like I was invisible. I went into the bedroom and closed the door behind me. I sat on the floor and cried quietly. I cried for the love we had. I cried for the girl I used to be when I was with him. I cried because I didn't know how to let go, and I didn't know how to hold on either. In that moment, I realized something painful. Love doesn't always end with a loud crash. Sometimes, it just slips away, unnoticed, until one day you wake up and realize it's gone. And no matter how tightly you hold on, it won't come back just because you want it to. But I still hoped. Somewhere deep inside me, I still believed that maybe, just maybe, he would turn to me one day and see me again. Not as the woman he lived with, but as the woman he loved. Until then, I waited in silence, holding on to memories and the faint sound of his heartbeat beside me in the dark. For months, I kept hoping something would change between David and me. I tried to talk, to reach him, to remind us both of what we used to be. But every conversation felt like talking to a wall. He wasn't angry, just distant. I stopped asking questions. I stopped expecting answers. The silence between us became normal. We still shared the same roof, but it didn't feel like home anymore. I would cook dinner, and he'd eat quietly or not at all. We'd sit on the same couch, but it felt like we were worlds apart. I missed being seen. I missed being loved. More than anything, I missed myself, the version of me that smiled without forcing it. One day, I looked at him across the table, and I couldn't feel anything. Not love, not anger. Just emptiness. That's when I knew. Love hadn't just faded, it had disappeared. A few days later, we had a calm conversation. No yelling, no blaming. Just two people who had held on too long. We both admitted it wasn't working. We both knew it was time. We filed for divorce quietly. When I left the courthouse with the signed papers, I didn't cry immediately. But that night, alone in bed, I let the tears come, not because I wanted him back, but because it was really over. It hurt. But it also felt like the beginning of something new.